Hey, ¿qué pasa, Mufasa? It's Brandon back with another video. Before we start this video, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for the support on the Phantom Lut video. A lot of you guys really responded well to that, so much so that you guys used my link, my discount code to purchase the LUTs. And I know it was a great decision for you guys because these LUTs are incredible. They really are. But on top of that, it also supports the channel, it supports me, helps us pay the bills here at the household. And I can continue doing what I love to do, which is also teaching you guys and going out and doing videos and making wedding photography stuff. So with that being said, you guys had a lot of questions about how I use the LUTs in post. How do I edit with them? How do I expose with them? We're going to cover all that stuff in here, and we're going to edit, and I'm going to show you exactly how I use them in post with different lighting situations, so you can kind of get a feel as to how you should use the LUTs. And then again, this is not the correct way. This is just how I do it. And I did a podcast with Joel Famularo, the creator of the Phantom Luts, and we kind of cover that, and I'll link that above. This is kind of just how I do it. He's going to make a video in the future on how he uses the LUTs. With that being said, the first thing is these LUTs are not going to recover nasty, poorly shot, underexposed, or overexposed footage. So you have to kind of nail the fundamentals down first in camera. You have to kind of keep those things in mind and put some effort into at least making your lighting nice and your exposure and everything else right. Because if those things are off and you apply a LUT, it doesn't matter what, if it's the greatest LUT in the world, it's not going to recover that type of footage. Okay. So first things first, make sure you know your fundamentals of lighting, exposure, and that sort of thing. Okay. So with that being said, second thing that I get asked a lot is how do I expose for the LUTs? Now, again, in the podcast, we talked about it, but basically Joel kind of tells you like, you don't have to overexpose. And he's not also saying that you shouldn't overexpose or like expose at 0.0 stops. It's an artistic choice. So basically, let's say if you're shooting like a dark horror type of film, horror, like scary movie, get your mind out of the gutter, the exposure would be a little bit darker for skin tones, maybe around like the 50 to 55 RE, maybe even lower. Okay. Now let's say if you're shooting like a beauty type of video, like beauty or like a high key music video or something, obviously this exposure for like a woman would be a lot higher, maybe 65, on the zebras. So it's all on how you want to portray your image. Now, when you're lower on the zebras, like 50, 55, your meter reading is going to be a lot lower. And Joel talks about this too. Like, let's say if you're recording somebody in the snow with this white, bright snow, obviously your meter readings are going to be a lot higher. But if you're trying to expose for skin tones, you're going to be blinking 2 stops over on your meter. So basically, if you want to expose for the skin tones, expose for the skin tones using zebras, or the best way would be to import these LUTs into a monitor. That's honestly the best way. If you don't have a monitor, then using the gamma display assist is going to be the best way. So when you buy these LUTs, you're going to get 2 types of LUTs. You're going to get a standard, and then you're going to get this legacy type of exposure, okay? The standard LUT is basically how you would expose on the gamma display assist with a flippy screen. Okay, basically based off of that exposure, you would be pretty good applying that LUT on. Now, if you wanted a more darker, contrastier scene or mood from the LUT, then using the legacy exposure would also be the best way to go. Also, you probably want to import that legacy LUT onto your monitor so you can expose properly with the LUT applied in your monitor. So with that being said, the other thing is, you given 2 other types of LUTs, which is basically your normal and like you got like Davinci. The Davinci obviously is used for Davinci Resolve. You would use that little tab or that sort of LUTs in Davinci. And then if you're not in Davinci Resolve, it doesn't matter, just use the regular one. Third question that I get also is what cameras or what picture profile is this LUT used for? Okay, so Joel Famularo uses S-Log2 and S-Log3 depending on which camera he made the LUT for. Okay, his reason, and we talk about this in the podcast, so it's on the record. His reason for not using HLG or Cine or any of those other profiles is because he believes it's not going to look as good. He has a high standard and a high level of quality that he wants to produce. Using HLG or Cine is probably not going to meet his standard. So he wants to get the most dynamic range from his cameras using S-Log2 or S-Log3. And that's basically it. So these LUTs are made for S-Log3, S-Log2, then you got the A7S3, A7 III, FX6, FX5, FS7, okay? All of these cameras and also Blackmagic cameras are supported. And in the future, he's going to start to match more cameras to his LUT to get his look. but for now, it's mostly Sony cameras that are supported using the S-Log3 S-Gamut 3.cine picture profile. I think that covers a lot of the frequently asked questions, so let's start going into how I use these LUTs in post. Alrighty, so we get a nice exposure here. Looks like the white balance is nice. And so when I'm using Final Cut Pro, but you can use Adobe Premiere or Davinci Resolve, really doesn't matter, okay? I have my shortcut here, but I'm gonna show you a couple of the LUTs and how I would use it without creating shortcuts. This is how I do. So you were gonna go to Custom LUT. So I got my LUT here, and again, like I mentioned before, you got Davinci and you got Standard, okay? So we're gonna use Standard because we're not in Davinci Resolve, and then we got Legacy and we got regular exposure. Again, Legacy is more for like a more contrastier scene. Since we're shooting a wedding, most of the time weddings we're going to be more brighter and airier and kind of like a high key type of look. Okay, so we're going to go with regular exposure. And honestly, what I do for wedding films is I use the neutral LUT across the board, and then I just do an adjustment layer on top with like a, I think I use the Lens Distortions LUT pack or whatever, just to give me that little teal and orange. And it's very subtle. I have it like a 10%. So most of the time, the look right out of applying the neutral exposure, you're going to have a nice finished polished look. So let's apply that. And look at that. That looks amazing. I mean, can we go to full screen? Now it does look kind of a little underexposed or a little contrasty, right? A little dark. So what I want to do here, I want to go to the curves. And this is super easy. You just go to the curve, you go to the midpoint, you create a point in the middle, and you're just going to drag up. And there we go. Now we got a bright, airy key look. I mean, did you see how easy that was? Like we went from dark underexposed, nice, bright, airy look with a couple clicks. And that would be pretty good, right? I mean, I think that looks pretty good. Now, if you wanted to add more contrast, I guess you can grab a point down here and create more contrast or something. Maybe right there or something. I don't know. You can mess with it, but most of the time I just grab a point in the middle of the curve and just kind of push the exposure up a little bit. Maybe that was too much. Right about there. We push the meds up, and now we got a nice, bright, airy, high-key look for weddings, which your brides are going to love because you're going to make them look amazing. Alrighty, so that was pretty much that was the first one. So that was with the neutral or the Rec 709. So the neutral Rec 709 look that you're seeing here is something that is pretty much the 95% match with the Arri Alexa. The colors as closely as they can be matched, the gamma curve even. So basically the highlight roll off and the shadow roll off is what's matched here. So let's take a look at some of the other ones real quick before we move on to the next shot. Another favorite of mine that I like to use a lot is also this one. It's called Utopia. Now Utopia, it's like almost like a teal and orange kind of thing. It looks like it adds like blues into the shadows maybe, and the skin tones get a little bit more like bluer. But anyways, I like that look. Also, it really is a nice look. And I think we just need to push up the mids a little bit more, and we got a nice high key, bright and airy type of look here. I mean, that looks beautiful, no? Nice wedding. You know, look at that. I mean, that's pretty, maybe it's a little too overexposed there, but maybe there, and we're talking, and let's just look at, our effects real quick. We went from log footage, and now we got a nice high key look. And if you wanted to, you can add an adjustment layer on top of this with your, favorite wedding film LUT or whatever, and you can go from there. You can use this as a base grade, but honestly, this looks great right out of camera. This doesn't look super stylized. It looks super clean, and that's kind of the look that we go for in our wedding films. Another one that might be good for weddings would be this one here. So you're given 2 packs when you buy it. You got the film LUTs, and then you got the Phantom Arri pack. Okay, so the film LUTs are based off of film. Same thing, you got Legacy and Standard exposure. Legacy is going to be your more contrastier looks, and you got Standard exposure here. Okay, the one that I like to use a lot for skin tones is the Eterna, and Eterna is based off of the film. I think it's like Fuji Eterna or something. It's a film stock that's used in Hollywood a long time ago, but basically the Eterna really gets you really nice warm skin tones. I think maybe it might be a little too pushed over, exposed a little bit. We can just bring down the curve just a tad. And let's take a look at this one now. Let's take a quick look here on how this shot looks. Nice parallax shot by Steven Uceda. Nice flare. Holy cow, wow. This looks like amazing. So this Eterna one is actually really good because the skin tones look really nice. The greens, you see the greens in the back are nice. Got that like blue in the shadow still, but it's just a really, really nice LUT to apply. And again, we didn't do a lot of work here. We didn't do curves adjustments. We didn't increase saturation. We didn't go into the hues and start changing all this weird stuff. We just applied a LUT and we get a great look. This is a stylized look right here for weddings with the Eterna LUT. I mean, we're on the first clip and we have several options on how to make this wedding look. All right, next shot here. Let's use this one. Let's just do this last clip here of them walking. Nice shaded area. And we're going to use, I want to say, let's go to the film LUTs and we're going to use the Eterna. Little dark, right? Little dark, little underexposed. So let's go, maybe we increase our exposure here first a little bit, right? And then we're going to go to our curves again. Super easy. Drag up. And I think we're good. Maybe I might make a little point here just to kind of pull the blacks down because they're looking a little right there. And I think that's good. Let's go. Let's see. Let's run the clip, see how it looks. Again, I'm not a color grading expert. I just drag and drop LUTs and apply curves. But look at that. That looks nice, stylized look. Skin tones look good. Everything looks great. Look at that shot. That's a nice shot. Looks good. All right, next one. Here's another instance where we had an engagement session with Katie and Johnny. And here is an instance where we had direct sunlight from camera left. This was golden hour. And basically, we're going to get a nice contrasty image because we got direct sunlight on them. So we're going to go to tungsten. And you see that right there. Got a nice contrast because the sun is coming from camera left. And so what do? If we want to make it nice and bright and airy, this is what we would do. We'd go to point here and start dragging up. And I think a little lower would be better. And now we got a nice bright and airy image. And boom. Oops, sorry. Nice. Nice shot right there. Look at that. Looks beautiful. Super, super, super easy. So let's do a couple more. Let me show you. So that's kind of like our wedding style and stuff that we do for our wedding films and stuff. Basically, Eterna, neutral, Utopia sometimes, tungsten, but most of the time it's Eterna or neutral with an adjustment layer on top. Again, we use the lens distortions, the teal and orange type of pack. Let's see one that looks a little underexposed at night. So here, this is Amy and Gid's wedding. We're working on that one right now. And let's apply the tungsten because we got these tungsten little lights, these sparkler lights here. We're going to go to standard, regular exposure, and tungsten. Nice. Actually, that looks really nice already off the bat. I honestly don't think we would do it much different, to be honest, because we don't want to make this bright and airy. Obviously, trying to make something bright and airy at night doesn't make sense, but maybe we can push the shadows up a little bit, just a tad. Yeah, that looks good. I think that looks good. It doesn't, I mean, that looks good to me. And that's a night scene. This was probably shot at 12,800 ISO. This is a interview shot, right? So let me show you two different types of interviews. This one's going to be a little bit more high key look. So we drag our custom LUT on top. And I want this one to be just a regular standard airy match, right? So we're just going to use the Rec 709 look, the neutral look. Apply it here. And honestly, this is pretty good. Now, most of the time, what I've been doing, I've been dragging up the curve. I think with this one, we're actually going to go down a little bit and create a little bit more contrast here. And I think maybe just right here, we drag it a little lower because I want the skin still to pop a little bit. Right about there, just to drag it and just to bring a little contrast. Now, let's see real quick. I have Joelle's other LUT here. So if you look in the background here, this is going to be the new version of the LUTs eventually. So if you look in the background here, I think it gets rid of a lot of the greens and the shadows, and it kind of cleans it up and kind of gives it a nice, cleaner look. I'm gonna turn this one back on, and you're gonna see kind of like this green blue tinge in the back. And let's just go back and forth, and it kind of like cleans it up a little bit. It gets rid of that just like green haze that was in the back in the shadows, and looks pretty good. I think it's getting rid of the greens or blue. I can't tell. I think there's like a blue maybe in the background here in the shadows. It looks like there's a blue in the shadows. Anyways, it's mostly just fixing the new version of the LUT is mostly just fixing like minute details. But again, it's matching to his newer sensor, his new Area Alexa sensor. So in this case, this was kind of like a high key look. We just dragged the curve down and made a little bit more contrast. Now in this shot here, this one's going to be a little bit more dark, moodier scene here. And we're going to do our custom LUT here really quickly. Phantom, standard, regular, and we're going to do neutral because that's the one that I always use. And you see here, that's a little too dark, right? Basically, we had camera left light, and then we had a rim light here on Eddie's cheek, and then we actually even had a light in the background here to illuminate that wall because it was really, really dark. And I think I just need to increase this curve a little bit, and I think we're good here. Look at that. That looks solid. That looks really, really good. Nice roll-offs, nice skin tones. Everything looks really great, man. I mean, this is exactly how you would get nice skin tones from your images. So here's a shot here that if you wanted to do a more moodier scene, you would underexpose a little bit. And let me show you what happens when you underexpose your image. We're going to go to our film LUT, and we're going to do standard exposure, and we're going to do Eterna. And look at that. This is an underexposed image on the A7S3, right? This looks good. This is actually what I did when I delivered the footage on the project. I didn't make any adjustments from here. Like, look at this. But we had the window behind it, backlighting it, and that's our shot. And honestly, that looked really good, underexposed. So really, there's a lot of flexibility on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to portray. Okay, got 2 more clips here that we're going to grade. This one, we're going to do Eterna. Again, I had a light off of camera right. Actually, let's do, I think the one that I like to use a lot, well, let's do Eterna again. I like Eterna, or we can do teal and orange. You want to do the Vision teal? So this is the Vision teal, which is like a teal and orange take, which like, I think it's like teal in the highlights and the skin tones go a little bit more orangey. Honestly, it looks pretty good. And then let's go real quick and click through Eterna. Where's Eterna? I like that. The skin tones look better there, in my opinion. Joel said he's going to fix some of these, or maybe update some of the film looks. That looks good, man. That's a nice shot. Nice skin tones. Looks really good. Last shot here of the day. This one might work with the teal and orange. So let's go to the film LUTs, the standard exposure. Let's do Vision teal. A little underexposed there, but let's see. Or let's just do Vision. Let's see what happens when we do Vision. There we go. Nice. I like the way Vision looks better, to be honest. And let's do color curves. We're gonna push up our exposure a little bit because underexposed a little bit. They're being backlit anyways. The sun was in clouds behind them. And that's our shot. It might be a little blue, actually. I might have screwed up the white balance here. So let me see. Here, and I actually even think magenta needs a little bit more magenta. I think skin tones are a little too green here. Right about there. I still think it's too cool. Maybe there. Maybe there. Nice. That looks awesome. That looks really cinematic. Nice little image there. Nice and clean. Looks really good. Really good. Let's check real quick. Let's check Utopia and just see real quick and see how that looks, because I really like Utopia when it's out on the beach. Okay. Nice deeper blues. The skin tones take on a little bit better color. Can't decide. But that looks like a nice image too. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was informative. I'm going to timestamp everything. Or I'm going to try and timestamp everything. Again, these LUTs are amazing. Link down in the description below if you made it this far. Appreciate it for watching the entire video and how I use these LUTs. And I think that's about it, man. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.